Welcome to lesson 1 of rendering. Now, before we get started, just a couple of things. One is that in these lessons about rendering, we're going to be speaking about what many people refer to as the subconscious. Some people say unconscious. I like to say subsurface intelligence or sub-intel for short, but I might use other words interchangeably for this, like the deeper wisdom or your inner voice or your heart or even the middle mind. But they're all interchangeable for that inner resource that you've been given as a gift that you want to have greater access to. Okay? The other thing to keep in mind is that in these lessons, I'm speaking about a subject that is novel or new. And I tend to use visionary language and refer to profound impact. So, for these reasons,
I may speak in a way that seems a little slow.
or using a bit more repetition than you think you may need, but this is just to help the information to get down into your deeper comprehension and to ensure that we're all on the same page as we go through these lessons. So, that said, let's jump in. In this first lesson, we're going to learn the first couple of steps on how to play on the playground using rendering. While all playground tools and exercises follow the sequence of play, rendering applies it more far-reaching than any other. Now, play is an acronym for the 3-step sequence of prompt, listen, and engage. Now, when you learn to play the playground way, you gain reliable access to your subsurface intelligence. And why is that so valuable? It's valuable for many reasons, but I'm going to give you 2 here. For one, your sub-intel is the storehouse of your inner wisdom, intuition, instincts, perceptions, and the complex calculations that are constantly happening in the background on your behalf. And for 2, following along the play sequence with rendering allows you to shift what is stored in there. To shift means to update, optimize, restructure, recalibrate, change, transform, delete, enhance, increase, decrease, or instruct what's there. For example, maybe you want to be less shy or more patient or creative or confident. Maybe you were raised in a way that left you with self-esteem issues and make you feel like you're damaged goods, and of course you want to change that quickly, efficiently, right? Or maybe you want to experience more belonging or more love, or you want to stop pushing away opportunities to make money. Rendering gives you access to shift consciously, intentionally, with precision. And it also allows you to do it as a skill that is progressive. So the more you render, no matter what you're rendering about, the more astute and fast you'll be at shifting intentionally, consciously, or as I like to say, manually. Why does that matter? Because what's in there behind the surface is not only deeply helpful wisdom, but also unhelpful, debilitating, sabotaging, limiting, and otherwise harmful rules, beliefs, judgments, opinions, and perspectives. And these untruths, as I like to call them, are expensive. They're costing you constant energy, like apps on your phone or your computer that are running in the background using up your phone battery or your computer RAM, or even worse, like spyware that you don't even know you have. As long as these untruths live in your subsurface, you perceive and abide by them as a foregone conclusion with the same presumption, gumption, and readiness to obey as you would laws of physics, rules of the road, theocratic principles, and inexcusable evidence. So, in essence, we don't want these untruths just running amok the rest of our life. And the short acronym PLAY, that sounds like play, is a seriously big-time game changer because it gives you access to up-level the inner workings governing your life. In this first lesson, we will learn how to do the first 2 basic steps of play, namely to prompt and to listen. Now, as with anything that you try for the first time, conversing with your deeper mind can take some getting used to. So bring some curiosity, bring some trust and patience. And this might be hard for some of you because as children, most of us were not taught how to hear and speak to our inner voice. And we can sense its wisdom, and we've been longing to know our deeper wisdom, to know what we know, so to speak. And so for many years, you likely have been waiting for answers that never seem to fully arrive in a satisfying form. In fact, some of you may be trying rendering because you feel like you've run out of patience and options. And if that's you, that's understandable. But be assured that rendering pays off and it doesn't take long. It's not a long wait, maybe a few seconds. And even though those few seconds may feel longer than they actually are, just rest assured that you will receive satisfying answers. So it can feel like the anticipation of a roller coaster, and it can sound like in your mind, like, is this gonna work? Probably not. Then I'll be disappointed. And do I really even need this? I've gotten by without it. I don't want to get fooled and look stupid. So if you can muster a little bit of trust and patience, I will do my part to remove the anticipation and longing. And I'll do that by having you start with rendering on something that you likely don't care about, something that has no stakes, something that doesn't matter. Now, first, you'll need a prompt. Prompting is similar to using ChatGPT or a search engine in that you can state what you want, hit enter, and out comes the reply. Prompting pulls back the curtain to reveal the door to your subsurface, and it also provides the key that opens that door. Now, just like when you're in a polite social setting, you don't want to use direct questions when you're first communicating with your subsurface intelligence. You want to opt instead for indirect questions, or what I do refer to as side door questions. Now, how do we perform these side door questions? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm not going to leave you in the dark about anything you need to do in this process. In rendering, this means starting with the scale as your prompt. The scale, as in on a scale of 0 to 10. It's the same scale that you've used and heard countless times, except with rendering, you'll use it for its true value, as a key to access reliable communication with your subsurface intel. Now, why does the scale work so well? Well, I will explain the engineering of that and why it works in another lesson, future video. But for now, I just want you to jump in and experience the value of the scale firsthand. Now, as I said before, I'm going to give you a prompt. We're going to work with something that you don't care about, that has no stakes for you, okay? Such as, how much do you like carrots? In play, the prompting is immediately followed by the next step, which is listening. You'll do both of them together before returning back to the lesson for the next set of instructions. So let's talk about listening. When listening the play way, the practice here is to wait patiently for the answer from yourself without answering for yourself. We're all very used to jumping in and answering quickly with our conscious mind, without listening for what may arise to the surface from our subsurface intelligence. And jumping in to answer makes sense a lot of times, such as when pondering basic questions, such as, what's 2 plus 8? Or if someone asks you what time it is, there's no need to wait for an answer from your subsurface wisdom. Now, perhaps the reason we're so quick to jump in is due to conditioning carried over from our school days, when we wanted to avoid being labeled as slow, or when we wanted to finish a test before the bell for recess rang. But with the playground style of prompting, the answer, if listened for, does show up. But you gotta listen. In play, the act of listening is different than when you're listening in conversation or listening to music or birdsong. Attention is vital, but your physical ears, not so much. When at play, you listen with your inner senses. And you listen to and with your whole body, your imagination, your mind's eye, and your heart. Now, how will you know whether the answer you got came from your fast-acting conscious mind or from the more desired place, that deeper, quieter, slower subsurface? Well, if you answer from your conscious mind, it's going to sound like a reasoning through, such as, well, I don't eat carrots that often, so I guess I don't like them that much. On the other hand, you'll know the answer is from your subsurface when there's no conscious analysis or reasoning. You'll sense it arise from a deeper place of knowing. It will be clear, as low as 0, as high as 10, or any number in between. No other words, just a number, that's it. You may feel it, hear it, sense it, see it, know it, or any combination of these. The answer may pop up immediately, or it might at first move and adjust a little bit before settling, like a slow-moving slot machine. But once it settles, that number is the answer. So are you ready? This is exciting. So you're going to ask yourself this prompt, and then you're going to wait and allow the answer to bubble up, to occur to you, or to appear in your mind's eye. You'll wait for the answer patiently with open childlike curiosity and trust that it is coming, okay? And then once you have your answer, you'll return back to the lesson. So step 1 here is to prompt and listen using the scale. Ask yourself, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do I like carrots? Pause here if you need more time. So you got your answer? If not, be a good sport, go back and try it again. This is not a concept to simply read about or to hear someone else describe. It's something to experience. If you have your answer, congratulations. Take note of how it felt to get that number from your subsurface. How did it arrive? Did you see the answer? If so, where did it appear? Was it projected in front of you or someplace inside? Or did you sense it as a knowing? If so, where did you sense it? How was this different than thoughts from your conscious awareness? Did you get an actual number? Or was the answer shown on an integer line somewhere between 0 and 10? Completing this first step is definitely worth celebrating. You just accomplished something more than you may realize. For one, you've taken a step toward learning to recognize and to distinguish your truth that has arisen from your deeper mind. By setting your inquiry on a scale, your answers feel familiar and true and accurate without sacrificing intuition and nuance. Once you learn to use the scale in the way that it's meant to be used, in the play way, communicating with your inner wisdom stops feeling distant and uncertain. It's no longer a message in a bottle. It becomes a direct line, a conversation, something closer to picking up the phone or even speaking face to face. So no one's trying to take away your delight that comes from that exhilarating experience of discovering the message in a bottle type of communication from your inner wisdom. It's just that we're adding an additional type of experience that's just as exhilarating and exciting and delightful, but also light years beyond in terms of its helpfulness and its value. So give yourself a high five. Great job. Celebrate. Let's continue to the next part. I'll show you how to prepare to engage. Now, engage is that last step of prompt, listen, and engage, but we need to prepare to engage properly. The practice here is just to show yourself, to prove to yourself that you can receive full statements from your deeper knowing. Okay? In this next step, you're going to repeat the combined prompt and listen step, but you're going to this time ask for a reason why. So the answer you receive will be a sentence, a statement, rather than a number. Okay? So you're either going to ask, why is this not higher? Or why is it not lower? For example, let's say your original answer for how much you like carrots was 7 out of 10. You might choose to ask, why is it not lower? In that case, the answer you receive will be one single reason for why you like carrots. On the other hand, you might want to ask why it's not higher. And the answer you will receive then will be one reason or one thing you don't like about carrots. Does that make sense? So, regardless of which of the two questions you choose to ask, the answer will literally begin with, or at least imply, the word because. If your number was 0 or 10, then there's only one question you're going to be able to ask for this practice. For example, if your liking for carrots is 0, it wouldn't make sense to ask, why is it not lower, since it can't go lower, and vice versa for the unlikely scores of 10. But if your number was anywhere from 1 to 9, you can pick either of the questions. And it's important for me to just pause and give you this reminder to trust, because what I'm going to ask you to receive from your subsurface next is not a number. So you might feel like it's going to be harder to get, but it's no different. You just asked for a number and then you received it. And the subsurface loves giving answers. So it's no more difficult or easier to give you something besides a number. So just trust that you can do it, okay? So now bring back to mind the number that you received for how much you like carrots on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay, you have that number? After asking the prompt I'm about to give you, you'll follow that up with the same kind of deep listening as you did before. And as you listen, the answer will bubble up, and it will be one single reason. Now ask yourself one of these two questions. Why isn't it higher? Or why isn't it lower? And then wait and listen for the answer with open curiosity and patience. Pause if you need more time. If you have it, pat yourself on the back, because this is a big deal. You're now prepared to engage. And remember, to engage means to make adjustments or to shift. Your ability to request and receive a subsurface reason will prove helpful when you're actually rendering on something that needs adjustment, because it gives the subsurface a chance to reveal to you what its reasoning is. In other words, the underlying coding, rules, logic, laws, principles that the reason is based on, and in a bite-sized, manageable form. The scale does something else worth mentioning, and it may even be the biggest benefit of all. By giving your sub-intel a way to effectively translate its wisdom into information you can easily grasp, it also allows you to filter out and accurately distinguish the voice of your inner truth from other sounds and sources. Now, I'll show you how to use rendering to get rid of that internal noise. It's, in fact, one of my favorite things that you can use rendering to do. But for now, when we're just getting started, we want to render in a way to circumvent the noise. So that's it for this first lesson. And trust me, that is plenty. Because all I want you to take away from this intro is the confidence that A, you can ask, and B, your subsurface will answer. That's the beginning of a quality, trusting relationship with the incredible, marvelous companion, resource, gift that you've already been given and always had on your side. So, great job so far, and I'll see you in the next one on the playground.